Welcome to another edition of the Smart Office podcast. I am your host, Hippolyte Assa. I am an AI implementation engineer, helping businesses use practical AI systems to improve operation, client experience, and growth. Today, I'm excited to welcome Rick Karawie of Accretion. Rick helps businesses think through commercial insurance, industrial risk, cyber protection, business continuity, and long-term risk strategy. He works with companies that need to protect not just their physical assets, but also their workforce, revenue, and ability to keep operating when something unexpected happens. Rick, I've been looking forward to this conversation because your work sits at such an important intersection: insurance, risk management, business continuity, and protecting companies before problems happen. A lot of business owners only think about insurance when renewal comes around, but your work seems much bigger than that. How are you doing today, Rick?
I'm doing just great. Good introduction, by the way.
Great. I'm glad to have you here. Okay, for everyone listening, today's conversation will focus on three things. Of course, we're going to talk about how business owners should think about risk beyond simply buying insurance. We'll talk about common blind spots companies face around cyber operations, facilities, workforce, and revenue protection. And third, how technology and AI may help advisors and business owners make better risk decisions in the future. So, Rick, let's start with your story. For those listening, before we get into the technical side of insurance and risk, can you share a little bit more about your journey and how did you get into this work?
Well, I'm 75 years old. Yeah. Insurance is my fourth career. I've owned, operated businesses, and I happened to get laid off 40 years ago, a couple of days before Christmas.
Okay.
Which was wonderful. I didn't tell my family, and I said, "Well, what do I know how to do? Talk to people and read contracts." Go, crap, that's insurance. I guess that's what I got to do. So I was going to do it temporarily until I found a real job, and here I am 40 years later, still finding it interesting. Right. Like I said, most people think about insurance when it renews, and that's the last time to think about it. I try to get to people ahead of time so I can understand how businesses work, but I want to understand exactly how their business works to make sure I pick up all the issues. I don't just look at price, I look at the proper coverage. So what I say is I give you the proper coverage at the proper price.
Right. So what type of businesses do you most enjoy helping and why?
I'm a generalist. I insure everything from an agricultural location to a space station. So I've got quite a lot of variety. Wow. But I insure a lot of property right now, and I'm moving into doing more manufacturing. I'm licensed in all 50 states. The only state I try not to do business in is New York because it's almost more heavily regulated than California. So
wow.
It's okay. But it's interesting. I've got a client in Hawaii, but corporate won't pay for me to fly over to visit him for some reason.
I see. So when people hear commercial insurance, they often think only about policies and premiums. How do you explain what you really do for clients?
I walk through what their company does. Say it's a manufacturing company. I'll walk the floor and look at the machinery and look how people are working on it, because that's where the workers' comp claims are going to come up, because safety is remind. People get into their normal operations and they stop not paying attention, and that's when a claim happens. So I need to understand how they do their business, from making the widget to shipping it out, because depending on whatever the widget is, it's got more risk. If they're manufacturing parts for aviation, it's much stricter on tolerances and those kind of things. So they got to watch that, because God forbid their part ends up in an airplane and the plane goes down. Then they've got, obviously the people on the plane may not be real happy that they crashed, but they've got a real problem. So they need to be aware of the risk, not just think about insurance. What insurance is a risk management tool. Just like you have a gate around stuff you don't want people to get into. That's what insurance is. It's the risk management tool. Obviously, you want to pay as little as possible, which I'm happy to do, but sometimes it just can't happen. I just worked on a client. He's got a building built in 1940. It's in San Francisco. It's 6 stories, which no insurers like. They like little low buildings, but this building is very safe. It's a masonry structure, so it's not gonna go anywhere. It's probably not gonna, there's been earthquakes and it hasn't happened anything. The guy takes very good care of the building, but he happens to have last year he had Zinsco and Federal Pacific breakers, which are highly susceptible
Mhm.
to failing. So he spent close to $500,000 upgrading all the panels, and we were able to reduce his insurance premium. 500,000 is a lot of money, but his insurance premium, the original way, it was $50,000. Now that we've made the improvements, it's down to $30,000. I mean, it's going to take a while to pay off a 500,000, but paying $50,000 a year versus
Right.
1,000 a year is a big deal, and that's a part of risk management.
Wow, that's cool. So when you meet a business owner for the first time, what are you usually trying to understand about their operation?
Where the potential risks are, and there's
Mhm.
different risks in restaurants versus manufacturing companies versus a property company. A restaurant
Mhm.
has issues. Obviously, they have a food risk. It gets cold and goes bad or something like that. And if it's a bar, then they got more problems. People tend to do crazy things when they're sitting in a bar. So their servers have to be trained not to overserve people. They have to understand what's going on. It's tough. I grew up running restaurants, so I understand that risk. People get cantankerous when you say, "Hey, I think you might have had enough. Let's have a glass of water or something now," and that takes training. So your employees have to be trained. Your everyone from the janitor to the bartender, it's all a piece of the risk because
Right.
don't think insurance, think risk.
Right.
Because, if, I mean, just at the and the pre well, I'm not sure about the premiums all over the country. I just did a white paper on it that I'm reviewing, but in California, property rates are going through the roof, and we've lost what are called standard carriers that everybody heard the names of: Allstate, State Farm, Farmers,
Right.
Nationwide. Those are household names, but they're leaving the state because they're so heavily regulated, they can't do their job properly, and unbeknownst to people, insurance companies, like everybody else, have to make profit.
Of course.
You'll see the insurance companies made $50 million. Yeah, that wasn't all profit. That was money has to be there to pay off when there's a
To
claim.
pay off. Right. To pay the claims. Okay. I know you've shared, that was an interesting story shared there about the property that was built in 1940. Do you have another maybe interesting story about a client story, meaningful risk that was a win, just like the one in 1940? What changed for them? Like, what changed for them after the right strategy was put in place?
In that particular case, the building was safer and they saved a lot of money.
Right.
Secondly, we got them off thinking about premium and thinking about how to reduce the risk on the building. If you reduce the risk on
Hmm.
your building, then your insurance is going to go down. I've got a restaurant, interesting
Right.
restaurant one. It's a restaurant that I grew up going to. My father
Hmm.
knew the original owner, and they were good friends. Unfortunately, the guy wasn't the greatest businessman in the world. He kept opening restaurants and they kept failing, but the original one is still there with new manager who I know as well. But I had talked to him about, your janitor, it's got like drains in the floor.
Hmm.
Something happens, and I said, you got to make sure someone keeps those drains clear, because if the sewer backs up or something ridiculous happens, you're going to have a problem.
Right.
Fortunately, there was an issue with the sewer in the street, but it was forcing, nasty stuff up in
Right.
all the buildings. Fortunately, his drains worked, so he didn't get inches of flood. He got a little bit of stuff on the floor. We were able to sweep it down the drains and prevented a big risk, because the city would have shut him down because of, hey, you got
Hmm.
sewage in your building. So they didn't shut
Right.
him down, and it prevented, because when stuff goes into a building, especially if it's got, depending on what the walls are, if they're like solid wood, it's not that bad, but most places are lath and plaster or
Hmm.
board. And if water or anything gets in there, it soaks up the sides of the walls. And then you got to tear up the walls rather than just mop the floors. So that seems pretty silly, but cleaning out a little drain that's, this big around seems like pretty silly. But fortunately, it was cleaned out and we didn't have any problems. That's,
Right.
that's those are the kinds of thing I look at, and it's a little bit tougher now. I have to have my risk management team go out to these places because
Oh, I see.
I've been in a wheelchair now for 3 years, so
Hmm.
I don't go to too many places. It's,
I got you. I
very
see.
costly for me to travel from point A to point B because I'm
Point B.
not strong enough to get my wheelchair and myself up into my car yet. I've been working on it. Your muscles don't come back as quick as you think, and
I see. Yeah.
you don't realize how heavy a wheelchair is one-handed.
So how long have you been on a wheelchair?
About 3 years.
Wow. Okay. Sorry to
So I
hear
had
that.
to
Like, was it you had an
had to ch
accident or?
it was my doctor misdiagnosed the condition, gave me the wrong pill, shut
Shit.
I reacted to it, and it shut my kidney down, gave me heart failure all at the same time. So I would
That's
rust into emergency, and the doctor goes, "You're staying here for a while because you've got these issues," and the cause was it sucked all the muscles out of my lower body. Uh, Only
that
thing
was
with
the
being in
issue.
a wheelchair, everything once in a while, I'll forget that I'm in the wheelchair, and I think I'm in a chair, and I'll start to get up and walk, and I go, "Oh, God, you can't do that." So, I'm strong enough to stand, but
Mhm.
standing and walking are 2 different things, you've gotta
Right.
kinda do it. I've practiced with my walker to get stronger, but I'm
That's a huge risk. Do those kind of businesses manage risk as well? Like those healthcare sector, do they have some form of risk management?
some of them manage the risk well. Most of them I have to remind. I have, depending on the size of the business, I've got a Acrisure is 16,000 employees strong, and we've got a whole people that are specialists in risk management. So they'll go
Right.
tour if they do it all day long. I mean, even though I've been doing it so long, I miss a few things, but this is all they do. So they'll tour the facility and make a list of recommendations, and it has to be a top down measurement of safety because if management doesn't care about safety, why are the employees going to care? Because they pick up
Exactly.
their cues from management. The
From
teams that work
management.
with us as part of management, we've eliminated a lot of risk, and
Right.
we've got workers comp. We have a carrier. I haven't used them too much. They actually put cameras at specific places, and they use AI to analyze how the people are doing their work, and they'll
Hmm.
pick up, "Hey, these guys are all jumping over this conveyor belt to get to that box. That's why you're
Right.
having flames over there all the time."
I
But to the
see.
employees, it was something that they just been doing for years. Every once in a while, there was an accident, but they didn't think about that. But
Hmm.
there was a conveyor belt with, the little rollers on it, and then there
Hmm.
was a flat space, and they jump over that. But as the employees got older, jumping over that thing was, you're not quite
Risk.
as agile. So they had developed a habit, and they trained the younger employees to do the same thing. So we had to retrain that, action, which helped
Wow.
prevent future risks. So that's a use of AI in the insurance frame right now. I'm working with AI to train it to do. I do what's called a proposal for a client.
Right.
I get in a quote from an insurance company, and it's in insurance, so you're not going to be able to read it. So
Of course.
I used to have to go through it and cut and paste and whatever into a proposal to make it look very nice, which would take like an hour. Now I upload the insurance company's proposal into the AI, and like a minute later, I've
Spit
got a
it out to
proposal.
you.
Yeah, so I have to adjust a few things and check it, but that's a huge saving,
That's
from
a huge
5
savings for
minutes
sure.
to an hour. Now I'm trying to the thing that takes the most time other than walking through the businesses is filling out what's called applications and supplementals to give the insurance companies all their information. So I'm trying to
Yeah.
train my AI to take raw data and put it
Mhm.
into the application. So
All right. Okay.
Friday, I normally don't work on anything unless a client's got something I definitely have to take care of. So I'll work on
Yeah.
things like that. And just like you, I got to do marketing. So I got to go through different databases and do this. And I also do a podcast once a week. So I have to decide what the show's going to be on and get
Okay.
someone to come
Sounds good.
on the show.
Sounds good. Okay. If I may ask, what's your position with Accretion?
What about Acrisure?
What's your position with Accretion? I know I introduced
I'm
you,
what
but I didn't talk about.
I'm what's called a client advisor.
Okay.
So I work with clients to get it done.
Well, good clients. Okay.
They did.
Yeah, go ahead.
I used to have my business cards were just blank, or I said sales because I
Yeah.
actually do sales, but sales isn't just talking you into doing something. It's a conversation to help find out, what you need to make your company run smoother and be totally
Right.
prepared. But corporate didn't like sales. They made me change it to client advisor, which I
I
did.
see.
But
Okay.
people have business cards. And like I said, I've been doing this for a long time, and I've seen a lot of salespeople, and they all have creative titles. They're afraid to say what they do. I'm a salesman.
Exactly.
And my job is to get you what you need.
When you look at industries like manufacturing, industrial operations, technology, biotech, or beverage, what are the biggest risk blind spots? I know we've spoken about some of it, but what are some of the biggest risk blind spots you see?
Well, manufacturers. There's manufacturers that everything. Food processors are called manufacturers. The guy that machines parts for a spaceship is a
Yeah,
manufacturer, so they
it's a
each have
manufacturer. Yeah.
different spots. What the blind spots are, especially if they've been in business a long time, they've developed small bad habits that they don't even recognize because they've been working on the line for however long, and unless someone
Hmm.
walks through them and say, maybe you shouldn't, they take sticks to shove things down the line, which they've done for
Hmm.
years. It's little things. It's never a big glaring thing like they've got a guy, you know, and a lot of things are back related. They're lifting boxes
Right.
without proper lifting training. Like I said, it's habitual things that need to be adjusted because we all develop habits. It's just like we develop a habit for, I like my coffee black. I don't like it with cream and sugar, but that's my habit. So you've got to look at the business in a manufacturing from start to finish. How
Hmm.
do the supplies come in? How do they transport them to the line? How are they handled on the line? How are they into the shipping department?
Right.
A lot of mechanized things like
That's good.
Amazon's warehouses, they've got these big things that go up and down the aisles that pull things off the rack, but there's
Hmm.
still people there at the end of the line, excuse me, going through these things, and sometimes the rack emptiers may go farther down, they may go farther down the line than they're supposed to, and somebody tries to jump up and grab something off it. At the end, claims very rarely happen at the beginning of the day. They
Hmm.
usually happen right before lunch and right before the end of the day because they've been working on the line and they kind of get glazed over. They're really not paying
That
attention. So making sure people take, a simple break just to, when you go back to doing something, you have to refocus. If you're doing the
right.
same thing over and over and over again, you're really not paying attention. So you have to pay
Right.
attention. And a
It
lot of
gets used to the
things,
habit.
right? Well, and then if you go, in a lot of places, they have CNC machines, which are automated, and people get impatient. They go, "Well, I need that part. I'm ready for it now." And you can't grab it out of there. You gotta wait till the process is finished. You know,
Gotcha.
develop developing how when you take a look at how they operate now, you might just have minor adjustments, and then you have to go back in and make sure that stuff is being done. I you know, I don't want an employee to get hurt because something habitual was never picked up. Unless somebody's walking the floor all the time and paying attention to that, they may miss it. Even a supervisor that's well intentioned, he's used to seeing that, the people jumping over that thing. It doesn't register with him that, hey, that's a potential claim. So, it's repetition, repetition, repetition for safety. Safety is nothing more than reminding people that, hey, you know what? You got to stand the broom up properly over there. Somebody's going to trip over it. Like I said, it's all little things. I mean, I've had, knock on wood, haven't had any big claims where anybody's got hurt. I even haven't had, I think I've only had one really large fire claim. So maybe I'm lucky that I've been doing this long enough that I spot these things, and I've got a good team working with me to make sure, all the risks are mitigated. And fortunately, Acrisure is big enough and we have enough clientele. I don't have to charge a client for my risk management team
Hmm.
to go do a walkthrough and help me out. If we have to do a major project to help them review things, maybe there might be a small charge, but the company's set up in a way that risk management team is part part of working with us. It's not an
Right.
add-on.
It's not an add-on. Okay. So if I may ask, with the kind of clients you serve and the risk you help them manage, what are you personally focused on improving right now in your advisory work or client process? Do you have anything specific you're focusing on right now?
I take classes every Tuesday morning that goes through all types of insurance coverage, and I've got another guy that does claims, and he sends out a thing. I've been doing this for a long time, so just like the manufacturing guy, I'll forget, "Oh, man, I gotta double check this," and all the policies are changing what they cover, so I have to read the policy to make sure. Well, right now, there's an exclusion in the general liability for claims caused by AI.
Right.
So if a company does whatever they do and they're using AI, we got to make sure what they're doing and what it's done. And another big risk is cyber. People think, oh, I don't need cyber liability. We had one of my associates, he's insures. We're in California; it's legal to dispense cannabis, so he insures a bunch of cannabis dispensaries, and he has one that delivers the product to the clients. And by law, they have to take a picture of the client's driver's license. So
Mhm.
they have all those driver's license saved in their system. And
Exactly.
the software people were updating the software and they forgot to close the back door, and a bunch of that information leaked out. So they've got everybody's credit cards. I don't know how you get to them. I'm not a black hat hacker.
Right.
So a bunch of that information is out there. So it could conceivably, it might cause this company to shut down. We've got our
Exactly.
forensic people and systems people stopping the problem, but depending on how many records got out to rectify the situation and do what you need to do, it costs roughly $400 a person. So
Wow.
they could theoretically have 40,000 licenses out there, and to fix those at $400 a piece, that's like $20 million. That's probably going to shut
Exactly.
them down. So they've got they've got to mitigate the risk. Two,
Mhm.
they have to restore their good name. I'm not going to want to do business with you if you let all my information out into the wild, so to speak.
Of course.
So there's a direct cost of fixing it so it doesn't happen. Then there's the other reputational cost, which is just as important as that. So we also have a team that helps the people help mitigate their risks through that so their reputation doesn't go down. Unfortunately, nowadays the smallest companies, no matter what they think, need cyber liability. If you use email,
Right.
you better have the protection. For small companies, not that expensive. For a big company, obviously, it's bigger risk, so a lot more expensive. But it's a risk I'm looking at all the time since I walked through that guy's claim and I said, "Oh crap, I got to make sure I got all my clients covered properly," because I make them sign. I offer them cyber liability, and I make them sign that they did not accept it, because if I offer it, they have a claim down the road and go, "Why didn't I have that protection?" I go, "Remember, I offered it to you in our last
Unfortunately,
meeting or the meeting before. Here's where you told me you didn't need it." So, you know, and people don't want to talk about insurance. Hell, who the hell wants to talk about insurance? I don't even like talking about insurance, and I do
for
it for a
sure.
living.
I
Get
do for a
having
living.
having a I need to have a conversation with the people, and I've gotten pretty hardcore in my later years. I need specific pieces of information to do the job properly. And I used to try to do it without it and pick and go around back and forth and spend extra time. Now, if they won't have a conversation with me and They won't give me the information. "Oh, I just need a quote." I go, "Great, you just need a quote, but I gotta make sure it's done properly." Unfortunately, I tell them, "If we can't have this conversation and we can't get the proper information, I can't help you, so you're gonna have to go somewhere else." Hate to lose business, but I don't want I'm adamant about them being protected properly, and I can't protect them
Right.
properly unless I get what I need to get it done. If you're building a house, you can't do it without a foundation or framing. I'm building
Right.
an insurance policy. I need the same foundation and I still need the same framing. And every insurance company is different now. It used to be their policies used the policies used to be cookie cutter. You just had to find the right company to write the risk you want. Now they're all different.
Everybody's
The,
different.
you know,
What I know you spoke about working on technology to improve how you work. How has that been going on? Can you let us know a little bit how technology has changed the way you work and how it has improved the way you work?
well, I used to have to fill out applications with a pen, carbon paper, and get all the
Yeah,
copies I had. Now it's advanced to where I input all the information in a
I
system. It helps manage data. I mean, we used to have index boxes with
hmm
prospects and clients in them and big file cabinets full of stuff, all that stuff. My father, the business before we were purchased by Acrisure, we were in business since 1906. So we went through,
1906.
yeah, I wasn't there then. My father was there, but they went through all the earthquake stuff and they had to go through, files and file claims. Now that we have everything computerized, the data is much easier to access, so I can find what I
Right.
need to help a client. And AI, everybody's scared to death of AI, thinking, "Oh, it's gonna take my job." No, it's not gonna take my job. It's gonna help me be more efficient. Like I said, with the
More
proposal,
efficient.
I went from
Right.
doing a proposal that took an hour to a few minutes, and all the correct information is in there.
Right.
I
So
have when I insure a building, I have to get what's called COPE information, which is all the
right.
information on the building, that when it was built, what kind of stuff it has in it, all of that. I used to have to go to a couple of websites to get all the information. Now I type it into
hmm
my chat box and say, "Hey, give me." I used to have to write long sentences to get what I wanted. Now I've trained it. I just type in COPE and the address, and I get, 8.5,
All the
what
information.
it'd be, an 8.5 by 11 sheet with all the information on the building, which makes so that's what I'm working on now, training my AI to take that information and put that into an application or supplemental. That's a little trickier than I thought it was gonna be, but I even though I'm 75, I've been working with technology I used to oversee our previous company's network of 60 computers, so I became pretty computer literate.
Wow.
Mainly the
Okay.
way I got computer literate is I used to work for a construction company, and it was in the early days of estimating. You used to do estimating by hand and write down whatever the widgets were, price it, and figure out the labor. And our competitors had already started using automated systems
Systems.
to do this stuff. And when you're working on a bid, at the last minute, they could change their proposal by reduce this by 2%. We'd have to sit there and recalculate anything. So we're losing. I talked to the boss. I said, "We're losing some of these because we don't have the technology." He said, "Okay, you go figure it out." I go, "Great. I should have never opened my big mouth." So I spent the time finding the best estimating system, and at that time, sorry about that, stop.
mm-hmm.
At that time, it ran on, I don't know if you remember, on a Radio Shack Tandy computer, which was the top of the line now. I've got more memory. I've got probably 3 or 4 times more memory in my phone than that system had.
That time, of course, maybe 100 times now. I remember like a
Yeah,
hundred
I mean,
times now.
those things, what do we have, like 500 megabits of information?
Now,
They had,
now we have probably 100, yeah, 100 gigs. The average now is 124 gigs on most phones, and they have external that they can even increase to 1 terabyte. I mean, back then you wouldn't even have 500 meg.
yeah. I mean, I do stuff on my computer because it's easier and I can see it.
Yeah.
I actually responded to the thing you sent me last night. I was on my phone because I was watching and watching, and I got it. But
Okay.
sometimes because of the wheelchair on my back, I'll have a meeting and I won't be able to get to my computer. So I turn the camera off on my phone and I conduct the meeting on my phone, basically laying down like this. But I want to still do my job, and I'm going to figure out a way to overcome all this stuff. You know,
It's all right.
I've got a handyman that's come in and helped me fix things in my house. You don't realize it when you walk. Your the bathroom doors in your wherever they are smaller than like a front room door.
Right.
So my wheelchair is 20 something inches wide. It'll fit through any doorway, but it wouldn't fit
Mhm.
through the bathroom doorway. So and for shower. So I have what was a regular bathroom is now big enough for me to get into the bathroom in my wheelchair. For a mere $30,000, you can do about anything. But now I've got
Right.
a functional bathroom that's very nice. And the gentleman's wife happened to like me so much. She's an interior decorator. She did the interior decorating on the site. He
Wow,
and I
that's
were
good.
going, yeah, let's put this in and put that in. She goes, no, you can't put that in. That doesn't match. That doesn't look right. So she took him down
She's
to Home Depot and took tile and made him put them together. She goes, no, that's not right. Finally, she got the ones she liked, and now I've got a good-looking bathroom that is aesthetically pleasing as well as functional.
exactly, that's good. So, when we talk about insurance, I know how do you do about lead generation? Do you think about lead
I
generation? Do you still look for more customers? How do you go about that?
Well, for all most of the property stuff I have, I get it by referral. Right now, I'm running a drip email campaign, and I've got a gentleman that runs a campaign on LinkedIn, and it's done by a virtual assistant. I don't know if it's a real person or if now it's AI, but
Yeah,
it sends out connection requests or whatever on LinkedIn, and then she or it, whichever it is, transfers that information to a spreadsheet, which I'm now remembering to look at every day to see who's new customers, and they'll make a comment that says, "Hey, I don't need insurance till December or whatever," or go, "Call me right away." And so I look at that information, and because I used to do cold calling. I spent hours. I started off on life insurance. So you do call, 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 because now
wow,
then people went to answering machines that nobody answered their phone. Now you've got three gatekeepers that answer the phone, then they put you into a voicemail. And unless the guy knows who the heck you are, he's not going to pick up the phone.
he's not going to pick
So,
up the phone.
that's where the LinkedIn stuff and the drip email campaign works. They've given me permission to call, so I can call them, and they'll most likely take the call. But
Take the
it's, you know,
call.
still, you know,
That sounds good. So, yeah.
still, it's still a
So
difficult. How did we connect?
that is same technology. We have to implement this to connect. Like we figure out those who want to come on the show, and then we reach out to them.
Yeah,
We like my company is AI too. We're going to talk about that. We use AI technology in everything, and it's helping us reach out to people who we never have thought of reaching out to, right? Like how did
correct.
I connect with Rick? Like nobody, like without AI would not have been possible, right? I would not have been talking to you without AI. That's for sure.
Did you? I guess did we connect over LinkedIn?
We connect over email.
Okay.
Yeah, over email. So if let this one question that has been coming up my mind. If you could remove something repetitive in your daily work, what would that be? Something manual, something repetitive, something you want to take away that's taking time off your
The com the completing of applications,
low
because
value task. Yeah.
it takes to do it properly, it takes quite a while. So if I can get part of the information in there, then I just have to review it. The more thorough, what's called a submission, I send to the carrier. If I've got all the right data in, I've got all the things that they want, my submission is gonna move to the top of the pile. Whereas if they just get a half-ass one, it's gonna, they'll get to it when they
You're
get
right.
to it. And insurance,
Right.
like in California, uh, a lot of business is going into what's called the excess and surplus lines market, and all those carriers are going to say they used to get 1,000 applications a day. They're getting 7,000 applications a day because insurance companies are leaving, so they've got to get through their stack of stuff. So if I'm working that, I'm going to work on the one that's the most complete because I don't have to go back and forth asking questions. So
Exactly.
the trick is to get your application moved to the top of the pile.
Faster.
Also, it's a people business. I talk to the underwriters. They know who I am. Unfortunately, Acrisure is still learning that it's not a numbers business, it's a people business. They think, yeah,
It's
we
a
just
people business.
get enough stuff out there, we'll get the business. I go, you may get it one year, but unless I'm talking to the clients, eventually it's going to go away. And I've
Right.
had, I had some downtime when I was getting into the wheelchair stuff. So I was used to talking to my clients on a regular basis. So I've had to set up a system where I reach out to my clients and touch base with them. I've had some clients for 30 years and we're used to talking on the phone and going over things. With a lot of my younger clients, they, they want to do business over text and email. They don't want to pick up the phone.
You
So
want to pick up
it's a more difficult process. Hell, my own kids don't call me; they text me.
sure. It's a different world, yeah, because people want to do many things at the same time, right? They're texting, and then they can be listening to a radio show, or some show, or listening to something, but they can't text. They can be at a game or somewhere and they can text. It's just been people are trying to do many things at the same time on social media while they are texting and things like
We,
that.
we,
And
yeah,
it has reduced the people go out and they sit at the restaurant and they don't talk much. They that level, you know how you used
they're
to sit
sitting
and
at the
talk,
table texting each other.
texting each other. Yeah, they text each other.
Anywhere you go, everybody's like this.
Like there's like, okay, do you see the waiter who just came in? Do you see that man that just go out, and they're just texting among each other at the same table, right? It's
And we're getting
so it,
well, and we're starting to see now that there's claims because the people using their thumbs all the time, they're
yeah,
getting they're getting, I don't know, like I don't know what it is, muscle strain, which
Moses
had
Strain,
nothing to
okay,
do with the work, but they go into work and do things, and they've all of a sudden they've got this pain, so they file a workers' comp claim, and we got to review it. That's another big thing, workers' comp fraud. People claiming they got an injury. I've got a case where the guy claimed he got hurt in a car accident.
right,
He had a big neck brace around his neck and the all of that stuff, and he was going to the doctor. So I wasn't that trusting a person because the claim looked minimal for the damage that he claimed he had. So I had, I guess they're private detectives technically, watching the guy. So we finally caught him on film. He got out of his car with his neck brace on, his crutches, and he had a convertible, his crutches, and he went up to the doctor. He came out of the doctor, he grabbed the crutches, threw them in the back of the car, took the neck brace out, jumped into the car, and drove off. Now, if he seriously had that claim, he wouldn't have been able to do that. So
yeah,
we finally went to court and got the judge. The judge almost was going to keep the claim in force. I go, Your Honor, can you jump over your car and get into it? This guy's supposed to have a back injury and a neck injury, and he's jumping over the car. And the judge finally said, Yeah, you're right. And we got off the claim, which was, cost a lot of money to have somebody follow someone around, but the claim would have cost a whole lot more if we would have been paying that forever. The guy ended up
wow,
in jail, but which is sad. But you try to cheat the system, or eventually there's going to be some accountability. So those are rare. There's not as much of that as there is because everybody's gotten better at looking at things. AI does a lot of. Another thing we use AI for is we get these things what are called loss runs, which if you have a claim, it says, okay, the claim was for trip and fall and it was $10,000 and it happened at this time. So it'll take someone that has a lot of claims, it'll take that like 20 pages of claims, put it into a spreadsheet so we can analyze it. We can get a graph out of it. It'll analyze what's going on and we can see, you know what, we need to take a look at your factory over here because this is what's causing the claims. We need to focus on that because they may have all kinds of different claims and they've got one claim it's very rare, but they may have a large frequency. More
yes,
importantly in claims especially in workers' comp, is frequency rather than the big claim, because they happen one at a time. But you've got a lot of frequency, it adds up. So it's just
Right.
things you got to look at. AI, we've always been able to do that stuff, but it takes me a lot longer to grab the stuff from a PDF, get it into an Excel spreadsheet so I can work with it. Now, I don't know how long it takes the AI to do it. It'll do up to 20 pages right now. For me to do 20 pages manually is an all-day
Takes forever.
process. So AI is helpful in one, reducing our workload, but two, being able to produce a better product for the client so we can understand. A client doesn't know how to read a loss report. They need something visual or written that explains. People look at some people are visual, some people are, I don't know what it is. They do better by listening to things. So you have to put the things in the formats that they're going to understand.
Right.
If you're not a visual person, all this paperwork I put in front of you, that's great. But if I can walk you through that by speaking with you, then you're going to grasp that thing. Part of what I'm still learning is, I forget the three types of people there are: visual, audio, and I don't know what the third one is. But you have to reach people in their own medium.
Right.
Fortunately, people still watch things like you and I on television or podcasts, so we're able to get our information out. In the old days, back when there was just television, you and I wouldn't be doing this. It was much more difficult. I mean, staying up, having a studio and having all that stuff is a difficult thing. You and I can reach a lot more people doing something like this than we ever would. Like I said, I'm 75. Back in the early days of television, heck, I was the antenna. The parents said, "Okay, move the antenna a little bit over here." Okay, we got good. I was the remote control. Go change the channel. Now you can't get a television. I don't think you can buy a television that has manual, on, off.
No, not at all. You don't have it. It's become so smart. And now it's called smart television. And now it's called AI powered television. So everything is getting incorporated. But Rick, let me ask you, where can people learn more about you and connect with Accretion?
Well, I've got a website called industins.com. You can get to me there, or send me a email at rcalloway@accretion.com.
Okay.
And I'll respond to your email. I'll answer your questions. I'll give you I can give you information on your specific industry. But like I said, what I try to do, the best way to find out about me is answer a phone call so we can have a conversation. Conversation.
I remember you telling me to call you, and I tried to get you a couple of times on the phone, but that's good. So, Rick, thank you for joining me on the Smart Office podcast. I really appreciate your insight on commercial insurance, industrial risk, cyber protection, business continuity, and helping companies protect what they are building. It's really been a pleasure talking to you. Given your experience, there's a lot for our listeners to learn from.
My pleasure to be here. Like I said, this is a conversation. I like to talk.